But the point is, whatever you want to call it, you can see that history hinges at that point. And what is it in history that's aligning in such a way that if I didn't know anything about Jesus, I would still know from the red zone that something's about to happen right here.
So you picked out this missing body cold case, and for someone like you who has understood the nature of how a missing body cold case is dealt with, you may be able to instantly identify the similarity between investigating the life of Jesus and here. But what would you point out for a layperson who is not familiar with missing body cold cases to point out the key similarity between why missing body cold cases are hard to crack and unique, and the challenge that you face when you investigate the life of Jesus?
Right. Well, part of it is because you have good data on most murder cases. You'll have some data. You'll have somebody who saw something that can report that to you. You'll have some physical evidence you can look at the crime scene and see, try to make sense of it. And so if you don't have that kind of a case, if you've got a case where no one reported a crime scene originally and no one actually investigated it like a crime, well, now I don't have any evidence from the crime scene I can go back to, and I don't have any eyewitness accounts I can go back to. I don't even have a body at the crime scene. Well, now that's harder to crack that case. Right? Number one, I've got to demonstrate to a jury that this person's dead to begin with. They may not believe that person's dead. They may believe that person just ran off. That's the story that the suspect has been giving all those years. So you can tell there's some inherent difficulties in that, right? But what's important is it turns out that everything that's outside the crime scene will eventually, because remember, murders occur as a sequence of events in a timeline. There's that period of time before the crime and that period of time after the crime. And so you're able to kind of reconstruct what happens in the middle by simply looking at the fuse and the fallout. And that's what I wanted to do here. I said, look, if you're somebody who doesn't trust the Bible, I get it. I didn't trust the Bible either. But it turns out that really there's no way to avoid Jesus of Nazareth. You're going to see that history aligns for his arrival. And I think that part of the book, the first part of the book, that kind of just shows you how history is aligning. And then I actually timeline it for you visually. So you can see the unique small window of opportunity in which something is clearly going to happen based on three different kinds of historical fuses that are burning. You'll see this in the overlap area that I talk about. And I don't want to give it away, but if you look at that, just that middle chapter, to see what I call the red zone in my criminal trials, in other words, there are a series of events typically leading up to a murder that are specific to my suspect that press him to have to do something quickly. He has also to get certain things in place before he can commit the crime. He can't use, for example, a gun to commit the crime until he first purchases the gun. So I have a red zone that's going to have opportunity for that crime that will begin after he purchases the gun. He can't do it until he does purchase the gun. Now, if he's thinking, I want to put her in a big canvas bag after I shoot her, sadly, that these kinds of things happen. Well, he's going to have a canvas bag as well. So now he's got to have the gun in the canvas bag. The red zone's even shorter. So what you look at is like, what are the issues preceding the crime and the deadlines he feels like he has to meet in committing the crime that cause this small window of opportunity in a timeline. Well, you can do the same thing with history, looking at as it approaches the common era. You know, that BCE, as we used to call this BC, and the common era we used to call AD. But the point is, whatever you want to call it, you can see that history hinges at that point. And what is it in history that's aligning in such a way that if I didn't know anything about Jesus, I would still know from the red zone that something's about to happen right here. Well, it turns out there are good reasons to believe that something is about to happen right here based on the three kinds of fuses that are burning toward the appearance of Jesus. I think that for a lot of people is going to be eye-opening. We've always said, well, yeah, it seems like history is on. But when you see it on a timeline and see how small that window is, and Jesus happens to arrive right in the middle of it, you think to yourself, wow. So it's clear that when Paul says that in the fullness of time, God presented himself through Jesus to save us, it really does appear that, yes, the time was right because God had aligned all the activities in history to be prepared for the arrival of Jesus.